All right, this is Obed on behalf of Electronics, and in this video, we'll be talking about the Consumer Expenditure Survey and how it impacts your Consumer Price Index. Okay, so when it comes to your Consumer Expenditure Survey, okay, this is a survey that's carried out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US, okay, and it may also be carried out by Statistics Canada in Canada. Okay, so this is your Consumer Expenditure Survey. And both of these surveys, whether carried out in Canada or the US, they have to do with a basket of goods that we talked about in the last few videos, which is relevant to your inflation rate. Okay, so consumer expenditure survey. Okay, so this has to do with basket of goods, basket of goods. All right, so this is your consumer expenditure survey. Now, what ends up happening in this survey is you have the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, that calls anywhere between 8 to 10,000 households all across the country. And what they will end up doing is they will collect survey as to what the consumer patterns are like, consumer spending patterns are like. Okay, so they want to know how consumers spend their money, where they spend their money on, okay, what they spend their money on, so on and so forth. Okay, once they have this information, okay, so this is okay, 8 to 10,000 households. Once they have this information, they will categorize this information into different categories and groups. So, say for example, you have 80,000 products and they need 80,000 products to get an accurate consumer price index or inflation rate. Okay, they will categorize these 80,000 products in different groups and categories. Okay, and once they have these categories, what they will do is they will go ahead and have their associates, okay, their employees, call stores across the nation. So shops across the nation, retail stores, okay, wholesale stores, department stores, so on and so forth. And this is to figure out what the prices are like for different items. Okay, so this is categories. Okay, so the next step is to call stores, call different shops across the country. So call shops across the country. And this is to figure out what their prices are like, to collect information relevant to their prices. Because as we talked about in the last video, to figure out the weighted average, okay, for your inflation rate, you need two things. Okay, you need the price of your product and you need the quantity. Okay, you can get the quantity from the consumers based on their consumption patterns, okay, based on their expenditures. Okay, and you can get the price from the stores, from the retail stores, from the wholesale stores, so on and so forth. Okay, so now that you have the price and you have the quantity, okay, you can figure out okay the weighted average or the price levels as well as the index number. Okay, so this is to figure out the price levels or the index number. And once you have the price levels and the index numbers, as we talked about in the last video, okay, you can figure out the inflation rate. All right, now this is for the consumers and this is for your consumer price index. Okay, the government on the other side, whether it's the federal bank, okay, your central reserve bank, your Fed, okay, they will go ahead and get more information, okay, relevant to your core inflation index. Okay, so when it comes to your core inflation index, what's going to end up happening is they will factor out all the volatile economic factors. Okay, so this is your core inflation index. All right, so you do have some volatile factors. We talked about those kind of factors in terms of your law of demand and law of supply. Okay, factors such as food prices, okay, things like your gas prices, crude oil prices, so on and so forth. Now, these factors are temporary, which means they don't impact the economy every year. As a result of which, just to get an idea as to what kind of monetary policy the Federal Reserve Bank needs to issue, they will go ahead and figure out this core inflation index over here, which factors out all the volatile economic factors. Okay, economic factors with high elasticity. So things like gas, okay, plus let's say travel expenses or food prices. Okay, now when I say gas, okay, it has to do with crude oil. Crude oil may have to do with political factors. Okay, when it comes to food price, it may have to do with politics, foreign policy. It may also have to do with tariffs and taxes. Okay, it may have to do with the environment. Okay, so climate change maybe. All right, so these are all the factors that impact, okay, the monetary policy. Now we've talked about the monetary policies back in the past. Okay, when it comes to your monetary policy and monetary policies where the Federal Reserve Bank will go ahead and buy out bonds from the other banks, from the smaller banks within the country. And in that case, once they buy the bonds, the inflation rate may go up because obviously the money's being devalued. Okay, so this is for your monetary policy. And as the inflation rate goes up, the Federal Reserve Bank may go ahead and pump their interest rate up, at which point the investment will go up, the consumer spending will go down, and this would be a contractionary policy, which basically means that the real GDP will shrink. Okay, which means your economy will shrink. There will be economic contraction. Okay, so monetary policies. And as the economy contracts, you also have your foreign exchange rates, okay, your currency exchange rates that go down, as a result of which your net exports may go up and foreign investments may go up because obviously your foreign investors find your economy very suitable for investment. Okay, as a result of which the economy may rebound, okay, leading to an economic expansion. So throughout this cycle of raising the inflation, well, raising the interest rate to control the inflation rate, as well as bringing them down, pushing them down to control the recession. Okay, the Federal Reserve Bank, okay, or the Fed, they will use something called the core inflation index or the consumer price index. Okay, so this is to control the economy. All right, so this is basically where the core inflation index comes into play when it comes to monetary policies. On behalf of V Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.